Persistence wins hearts. The ability to not give up is a quality that can be very useful in personal life. Only a true brave man can win the heart of a beauty, says a Georgian proverb. And the French writer André Maurois believed that the most important thing for a man is not bravery, and certainly not beauty, but the ability to be persistent. He wrote, "You may not be very attractive or, perhaps, not attractive at all, and so you doubt whether you can please the woman you like. Don't worry, a woman will forgive any ugliness for a gallant man. I knew one great heartbreaker who was as ugly as sin. But if he wanted to win a woman, he besieged her literally day and night. He bombarded his beloved with notes, flowers, carefully chosen gifts that showed his excellent knowledge of her tastes. At first, the beauty protested, complained, ordered him to stop. Then she got used to these surprises and couldn't do without them. Previously, his late-night phone calls annoyed her, but now she waited for them with bated breath, worried if her admirer was late. Her heart was conquered. The fortress surrendered. If you still doubt that perseverance and persistence can help win the heart of a beauty, here are a few more real stories published in a newspaper once. Paul Williams, a theatre worker from London, was madly in love with nurse Karen Pierce. For a long time, she ignored his courtship. She graciously accepted flowers and chocolates, invitations to the movies, theater, or restaurant, but when he began to talk to her about his love, she looked away or asked to change the subject. His courtship lasted for a whole year, but Paul was never sure of her love. Finally, he decided to take an unusual step. With the help of a driver, Paul wrote in huge letters on both sides of a double-decker bus, the same one that Karen rode to work every morning, "Karen, I offer you my hand and heart." And exactly 7 days later, the wayward beauty surrendered. The foreign language teacher William Gorman from the English town of Norwich proposed to his beloved girl several times, but received a rejection each time. Then William decided to prove the persistence of his feelings and started sending her letters every day, consisting of just one phrase, "I love you." However, in each letter, this phrase was written in a different language or dialect. When the girl received another letter with a declaration of love written in the 112th language, she agreed to marry the teacher. Once upon a time, in Casablanca, there was a young Frenchman named Pascal Wilde. And of all the women he could have fallen in love with, he fell for Victoria Cini, who came to Morocco for a vacation. After enjoying the warm Atlantic winds and the hot embraces of Pascal, the lovely Italian escaped back to her home in Rome. Pascal, on the other hand, became bored. So much so that he left everything behind, put his modest savings in his pocket, and went to his beloved in the Eternal City. On foot. Dreams of their soon reunion literally inspired the young man. Along the ocean shore, he walked to Tangier, crossed Gibraltar, crossed Spain. Then the Pyrenees were left behind. On the way, Pascal turned into the city of his childhood, Lyon, and from there Rome was just a stone's throw away. In total, Wilde walked 2,700 kilometers, wearing out 7 pairs of shoes. Victoria could not help but appreciate the heroic journey of the passionate Frenchman and, of course, agreed to marry him. A young man from Hong Kong named Wei Wei, when all the stuffed toys and flowers were given, and ice cream and candy were eaten, decided to take an unusual step. He bought an entire strip in the most popular newspaper in Hong Kong and placed his message to his beloved on it. The message read, "Dear man, please marry me. Your Wei Wei. I love you." The last words were printed in red. How could she resist? The task that fell to 24-year-old English mechanic Bill Smith from the city of Brighton was much more difficult. Not only was Jen, the girl he fell in love with, too energetic and mocking, but the main problem was the extreme shyness of the smitten mechanic. However, love often works wonders, turning iron into gold and timid sparrows into true eagles. What did Bill do? He painted a love confession on a billboard and brought the surprised Jen there. When asked why he did it, Bill shyly whispered, "I'm terribly shy." Jen agreed to marry him. There is a story by the wonderful American writer Max Lucado called The People with Roses. The story has long since turned into a parable that different orators, educators, and preachers love to quote. Meet it yourself. A sailor received letters from a woman he had never seen before. Her name was Rose. They corresponded for 3 years. Reading her letters and responding to them, he realized that he could no longer live without her letters. They fell in love without even realizing it. When his service was over, they arranged to meet at the central station at 5 o'clock in the evening. She wrote that she would have a red rose in her lapel. The sailor wondered. He had never seen a photograph of Rose. He was always too embarrassed to ask her for one. He did not know how old she was, whether she was ugly or pretty, full-figured or slender. He came to the station, and when the clock struck 5, she appeared. A woman with a red rose in her lapel. She was about 60. At first, the sailor wanted to turn and leave. He was very offended and embarrassed. But something stopped him. This woman had written to him all the time he was at sea, sent gifts at Christmas, and supported him. No, she did not deserve this. And he approached her, extended his hand, and introduced himself. The elderly woman smiled and told the sailor that he was mistaken. That his Rose was standing behind him. He turned around and saw her. She was the same age as him, a beautiful and slender girl. She was a true beauty. The elderly lady explained to him that Rose had asked her to wear the flower in her lapel. If the sailor had turned and left, it would have been all over. But when he approached the elderly lady, she showed him the real Rose and told him the whole truth. Sometimes it's enough to make one small effort to turn defeat into victory. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to the channel.